Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, happy holidays. If it's one where you are, welcome to another edition of the Browsers 3000 learning sessions. Browsers 3000 is a 6-week hackathon event, re-envisioning what browsers and the web platform can be in a decentralized world, bringing these new superpowers that we have, empowering end users, putting decisions in their hands more than ever possibly could before, bring that into the browser space. There's a bunch of different aspects to that: protocols, storage, cryptography, user agents, user agency. Today, we're going to learn about storage and the ways that you can integrate it in your system. We're just over the halfway point. This event as a whole, we have over 430 people registered so far. Join the Discord. Let us know what you're building. Let us know if you need any help. That's what we're here for. And today we're here to learn with Jimmy, Cake, Lee, who will tell us about Estuary, how to make it unbelievably easy to build on top of Filecoin in your applications. Thanks, Jimmy, for joining.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. I'll take things from here. So I'm going to share my screen. I have a presentation for everyone. Yeah, so wow, thank you for letting me do this. I hope it's going to be helpful. I'm really excited about Filecoin in general and the partners that we have building stuff on top of it. So this talk is really going to be about two approaches to kind of getting stuff to IPFS and to Filecoin in a really, I guess, like developer friendly way. You know, there are a lot of things that you have to do infrastructure wise to get Filecoin and IPFS to work. But I want to show that these things are kind of, a lot of work has gone to make them simpler. And the goal here is by the time that we're done with this learning session, you should be able to integrate IPFS and Filecoin into your Web 2 application. Or, you know, just you have a better understanding of how things work and what to expect. And as always, I am available to you outside of this talk. So if you have any questions or you have any, you know, just general ideas, we can always talk about them. I know Ryan this morning shared a website builder using Estuary, and that is just wicked cool. So I know people are building awesome things with it. And so let's get started. What is Filecoin? So I love what Filecoin is. It's like peer-to-peer distributed storage network. And I put in green like the special text, you know, available storage and the price of that storage is not controlled by any single company. Instead, Filecoin facilitates open markets for storing and retrieving files that anyone can participate in. And I don't think the world has really caught into like what that really means. And, you know, we're so used to like these existing services. And when you use the browser today, you go online and you just kind of, you know, sign up for accounts and whatever. But I think we have the potential here to break that open. So I'll get into that more later. You'll see it through code. But, you know, the gist of Filecoin is that providers can elect to provide storage capacity for a network and therefore earn units of Filecoin. And instead of proof of work to maintain consensus, Filecoin uses proof of storage itself. And so I'm going to show you in this talk how we can, you know, use this technology that exists, this open network that's currently live right now, to store meaningful public data. What is IPFS? The one-liner is IPFS is a distributed system for storing existing files, websites, applications, and data. If you need a crash course on content addressing or content identifiers, I'd love to give you one outside of this talk, but you'll kind of see them in action. It doesn't indicate where the content is stored, but it forms a kind of address based on the content itself. And that mechanic, you don't really understand until you experience it. So we throw the word CID a lot on like NFT networks or whatever, but this is kind of a really revolutionary idea. IPFS nodes are resilient because of CIDs. They're tougher to censor and they can speed up the web when you're far away if you're running your own IPFS node. For this talk, we're using IPFS gateways. IPFS gateways provide workarounds for applications that do not support IPFS natively yet. So every demo that we have, you don't have to support IPFS like by running all this infrastructure locally, you should be able to just, as a developer, if you went to like a public library and you just wanted to like start hacking on IPFS, you could with, these code examples. And so here's an example of us using an IPFS gateway. All my examples are live, so bugs can happen, but that just loaded a video over an IPFS gateway. So I'm not running IPFS companion or anything like that. I'm just doing it over HTTP, which is, like sacrilege from some perspective, but also I'm able to interact with this powerful new technology without, adding anything. And as I learn more, I can probably integrate more of it into my stack. And hopefully I didn't lose my keynote from doing that. Okay, cool. So what's going on? So hello, developers. Hopefully you're here because you want to get into development and you love browsers and you want to build new stuff and you want to try out new protocols. You're in the right spot. And I've put together a way to kind of like use IPFS in your applications without having to run an IPFS node. This allows you to incrementally adopt IPFS and content addressing inside of your applications without having to make a large stack change. Literally, it's just like you could integrate Filecoin in your application with just a fetch call. And maybe my talk doesn't get to the point. Maybe it's not super refined, but I really want people to see this. Like, you don't have to go and, install libraries and do a whole bunch of stuff. By the time we get to the Estuary example, I think you'll really see what I mean, but hopefully I can show and not tell. A lot of NFT off-chain data has been made available this way in the world. So if you're using Foundation, OpenSea, whatever, you're kind of seeing it in action. And I promise you that the skills you learn here in this learning session will be useful outside of this talk, and you can hold me to that. And so some really cool friends. I don't know why I wrote this title the way I did. There are a lot of really cool friends, but this focuses on textile. Some of the coolest friends in Filecoin ecosystem. So this talk is split into two. First half will be for one of my favorite beginner stacks for people to use textile, and the other half will be Estuary. They build products as experiments to test assumptions about protocols, networks, and users. Their goal is to accelerate the exchange of information across society, and they're hiring. So if you feel like textile is like really cool after this talk, you can leave at any time and go talk to Andrew, Carson, Aaron, Ignacio, all those like people who work on the stack. They're really cool. And so what are we gonna do? We're gonna walk through a simple web developer example of how to build an IPFS using Textiles Hub. We're gonna talk about our work with Estuary and how it could really be a great example of an end-to-end stack. And if you want, throughout this talk, I will actually switch computers. I have another computer next to me and give you an Estuary invite if you come into our Filecoin Slack. And so you can poke around, our ARG website, whatever. And if you figure out a way to get to our Filecoin Slack, I will just throw you an invite. Textile buckets, let's do a quick overview. Combines a simple abstraction for mutability, data collection with IPFS. That's a lot of words if you're a new developer and you don't understand it yet, but I'll definitely show you. Adds a little remote persistence to help you pin your IPFS data and makes it easy to integrate IPFS into your stack. And so we have an example stack that I will be using to do the demo today. And it's called Next Bucket. I talk about the stack all the time. I know it's getting boring at this point, but I think it does expose how simple this stuff can be. So hopefully that is useful. And so we're going to run through an example application together from scratch. And so here is a demo actually of what you're going to get to by the time we're done. And so this video is actually really fun because there's a really long loading period for this to work. So I'm just going to cut ahead here. And by the time we're done, we're going to have data on the internet. So that's going to be really cool. Let me close this keynote. And I'm in my favorite place, which is my terminal. And I have these keys here. I know they're exposed. I imagine some people on the internet will compromise these later, but whatever, they're meant to be compromised. So I made them for this talk. This talk will not include how that's on the GitHub repo, but if you need help, I'm always here for you. So let's just run this web server. I have this example or boilerplate. It's called Next SAS, and it will open up a page here. And it'll say hello world. And if I look at the code for it, I kind of went and simplified it before I did this talk. So we'll have like, yeah, we just have like a really simple web application. It has some React code. Hopefully it's not too complicated. So let's try it out, like testing 1, 2, 3. Cool. So I already have something on my computer here. And so the expectation for a lot of the demos we'll be doing today is you'll have a little web server, and you'll be able to modify code and see it in the browser. So let me check the chat real quick to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Yes, Matt is hiring. I will be mentioning Near later here, and I should have done a shout out to Matt a little sooner. And Ryan, good to see you in the chat. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go to GitHub, and I'm going to go to application research, and we have a repo called Next Bucket. And here's the repo. And I'm going to go to code. I'm going to clone and do git clone Next Bucket. Great. So that worked out really nicely. And then I'm going to go back to the repo, read the README. And there's some explanations here. There's an example of it online. You can view that if you'd like. And we need to create a env file. So what I like to do in my IDE is I like to open up a new window. Cool. So I just cloned it. I have this blank project here. I have a package.json. The same README is available here. And I'm going to just touch env.local. That's a command that creates a new file. Double check that's the right thing to do. Cool. And if I do that in my IDE, it shows this right here. And if I copy and paste this, apparently that should work. Now, if I just try to run this without these, it won't work. So I need to generate these. And so I did that in advance because I'm clever, but that's right here. So we'll just go take this key. And this is probably, in my opinion, the only difficult step of getting this to run. So, and we have the Textile Hub key and Textile Hub secret. And we have the IPFS gateway. Cool. So I'm doing npm install. And since this is all live, I haven't actually run through this in a while, so anything can go wrong. But cool. So 0 vulnerabilities, 46 packages. Neat. That works. If you're running other web servers, you can close them. Let's do npm run dev of this one instead. And we're going to visit localhost 3. All right, super cool. So just like that, within, I think, a few minutes, I obviously cheated because I already have the hub installed on my machine. So I was able to generate the keys. If you have a friend who has a hub account, they can generate you the keys and they can be just as fast. But we have right now a full web application that can pin data to IPFS in just like a few seconds. So let's go over the code, because the code is actually, if you're familiar with the framework, it's pretty straightforward. But if you're not, some of this can be confusing. I tried to find something that would be simpler than create React app, so that you could kind of just run quickly. Here's what you get in the beginning. You have a index page, right? And I have like an input field that's hidden. And this is a technique that we use with HTML that if you click on another button and trigger a JavaScript click event on the input, you can actually trigger the native input field to upload a file. And we have this app component here. We have a boilerplate kind of like thing for MetaMask if you want to integrate MetaMask later. And just a simple like React web app. So if I change any of the information here on the screen, let's say I modify, let's go to components, apps TXX, and you can see else here, content. Let's see what we could play with. what do we want to change? Go to sidebar. I can change this to hello, friends. And that would reflect right away. Hello, browsers 3000. It's cool. It's just a simple website. So the reason why we went and got those keys is because we can generate a libp2p identity. And the way that works is if I go into text style here, we have a JavaScript object that will use these env variables. And because there's a server for this app, these keys will be protected based on the quality of the infrastructure you're using. So I use hosting providers like Netlify, Heroku, Render.com, and they will protect my env variables. And so that's a great way to build a service that your users can use without exposing these keys. Unfortunately, in this talk, we actually did expose those keys. So, but when you do this yourself and you don't use the keys that I used, you should be able to protect your users. And so a whole bunch of method here that let you do a whole bunch of random stuff. And so all of these methods kind of have a mapping one-to-one with what we're doing on the screen. So we will have to create a generated token. And so that code here, generate tokens right here. And so I'm just going to generate a new libp2p token. And so you saw that right here, private key from random, went and did this. And we're just going to use this private key. And that will take a little bit of time. Wow, that was really fast. That was awesome. And this is a real IPFS. Oh, whoa. Okay, that's a little small bug, but let me see if I can. So if you encounter something like that with this, you can go IPFS.io, IPFS, and try it out here. See if that just, that'll take a little bit of time, but from here you have a bucket, and this bucket can take files. So let's select that bucket, and we have this textile seed here. I'll click on this, and it'll take a little bit of time to resolve. Might be a little slow, but we have a place now to upload files. We have a Filecoin address, and we have this thing called, verified Filecoin storage. You can reach out to me afterwards about this and figure out what that means. But adding a file to IPFS is as simple as clicking add file, and we'll go into this right here, go into files, and let's just pick this random nature. This one looks nice. We'll add a file. And this is kind of like a lazy progress meter on the left. So cool. So we added a file, and then hopefully this works. You can just view the file. Of course, on the day of a demo, it'd take a little bit for the gateways to resolve the CID. So I'm going to show you guys some other things before yeah, so all that code here for creating a bucket, adding a file is all in this example. So you can kind of reverse engineer what you see here, and you can see that there's content. And let's go into, you can see that the IPFS link is just hard coded right here. And we'll have, on list buckets, on create bucket, on delete bucket, get archive for bucket, on select bucket. They all point to corresponding methods. All right, great. So the bucket has now been pinned to IPFS. So that's working, and hopefully this will start working soon too. Generate token, onset token. If we go into requests, we can see all the methods and all the API requests here. So API buckets create, API Filecoin address get address, API buckets list, API buckets delete, API buckets add file, get archive history, archive. And you can see that correspondingly, if I go to API buckets here, like API buckets add file, and I look at this file, this is the code for adding a file. And if I go to these Filecoin files, I can see the Filecoin outputs are here. And they're pretty simple. Get a Filecoin API from user token is right here. And so, yeah, I'm a little sluggish right now because I haven't looked at this code for probably a few weeks, but looking back at it, you can basically follow the methods back. They're all passed through manually. There's no magic going on. So you should be able to just find each method, trace them back, and see how the entire application works. And the overall gist of all of this is that within a few minutes, unfortunately, that's not true because it's taking a while for this to be pinned, but you should be able to pin something to IPFS and see it right away. So I think because it's taking a little bit, taking a while for stuff to pin, I'll let people play with this example on their own time, and I'll move on to something else. So check the. I could use the IPFS gateway. I mean, the good suggestion. Joseph is asking about my base OS and dependencies they need. Actually, you don't need anything besides npm and node. It's pretty typical that if you are following other developer examples as a web developer, that you would install node on your machine. And that's pretty much all you need to run this example, which is great. So yeah, I think one of the challenges of doing this live is that not everything works as expected, but I'm pretty sure that in time, this CID will resolve, and yeah, you'll get something like this. So actually, we can try this dweb link out as well and see if that works. Just plug and play. Oops. Nope. Okay, cool. Well, that's a live example of getting this app running. And from here, you can, yeah, a few bugs, but from here, you can get a example Textile bucket application running. So let me get back to the notes. So from here, you know how to pin data to IPFS, and Textile actually has billing associated with their hub keys. So if you add billing, you can guarantee your IPFS pins won't disappear. So here's a little diagram of basically what we did. We have a user app, and we used their libraries to basically pin IPFS content. And yeah. And what you could do next is you could check out, they just released a project called near.storage, and Textile kind of built a really awesome near Filecoin bridge with free storage for near projects. And so that code is even simpler than what I just presented today, where you basically can just take a blob and file constructor and then just pass that in and get CID back. And simple as that. So we didn't really talk about Filecoin in that example. I think in that example, I really wanted to show how easy it was to pin content to IPFS. Obviously, there were some technical issues in that part of the talk, but we did upload a file. You did see that file in the bucket, and you should be able to view that CID through any gateway. And in the future, I think when you're playing with this example, most likely when there's no network congestion and less network issues, you should be able to pin content really quickly. And to get stuff on the Filecoin, you actually have to make sure that you have a successful storage deal. So I think what I'm going to get into next is more about that aspect, where if you're pinning content to IPFS and you're wondering, how do I actually get this to work with Filecoin? That's what this next part of the talk will be about. So here is Estuary. And Estuary is the easiest way to upload a file and store it on the Filecoin with at least 6 storage providers out of a pool of 90 plus. And what it actually is a new node that we're developing with high storage capacity and the ability to pin to IPFS and store data on Filecoin that you can run yourself with a full control, including the providers you want to partner with. So check out the docs if you want to learn more. And so I'll click this link. You can see here are our docs, and you can actually just modify these examples live, and you can see that you can change the code, and I'll just reflect on the screen. So let me go here and check chat real quick. Thanks, Matt. So can you prove that your data is on, 1 second. Can you prove that your data is on Filecoin, right? That's kind of the question that you might have when you're watching this talk and you're like, okay, I've done all the stuff with textile buckets and I've managed to get stuff pinned to IPFS, but how on earth do I prove that stuff's on Filecoin? And so I made a page called Verify CID. So after this example, when you've gotten your stuff, once you work through the Estuary example, if you're playing with it, you can go to this page and you can actually verify that for any given CID, we have it on Estuary. You can click on the retrieval link and, oh boy, testing it live, see how it goes. You can click on the retrieval link and retrieve the file, and you can also see that this CID is a sealed on Filecoin. You can see that there's miners or providers that have they're not miners, providers that have taken the deal and sealed it on chain. And you can also see that there's a retrieval deal ID that you can use if you want to use Lotus to retrieve the file via CID. And Lotus is a Filecoin client. So if you are able to run one, and it's pretty difficult to run a fully synced Lotus node, but if you're able to run one, you can just run this command and get the file. And so that's cool. It kind of proves that your data is on Filecoin. So let me get back to my slides. And so in this video, I give a kind of a brief tour of it. If you visit the Estuary page, you'll have learn more and get access. If things work as intended, and this is why I did this, I made a video last night where it actually shows the CID link working without any issues. And so retrieval from a gateway should be that quick. We have 3 million plus files, 3,000 deals on chain. And I also have a page here that compares how Estuary does to other cloud services. And so you can check that out if you're curious. And there's a demo here on the front page of uploading files and how seamless it can be. And here's an example of some of the parts of the UI that we have to prove that data is on chain. And so we have Filecoin deal receipts, and then we have open data. So if you are curious about our performance on Filecoin and whether or not things are getting on chain, you can click on any given provider and we show their logs out in the open so everyone can debug together and learn about how to make this network better. So here are some logs from one miner where we have produced some issues on our side that have caused them some problems, so we can see, okay, whatever we're doing isn't working. The deal didn't make it on chain on time. And this really helps with debugging and making sure the network is resilient for everyone else. And if you want to give feedback, we have a feedback form. So you can just type in your name, your email, and that gets straight to me. Once you're in Estuary, this is what you'll probably see, which is once you start using Estuary, start adding files, You can retrieve any file that you've added through an IPFS gateway. Here's another example of that. Of course, I'm cheating again because it's in a video, but you can take that same CID and verify that it's pinned to Estuary. You can view the same gateway link. A little bit more of what I mentioned before around like seeing what miners have the files. And then the deal receipt right here. What's really cool about this is you can see how long that file is going to be on the Filecoin network, which is really cool. And how much provider collateral, so how much the miner had to provide as collateral for the deal. And here's a live demo of the upload progress from last night. So you can just upload files like this. And you click upload all, it'll tell you where we're adding it. So we have this concept of shuttles. So shuttles can take data from, we can make a shuttle in any part of the world, and that shuttle will make it easier to upload files. So data transfer from like Asia to the US might be really difficult, but if we open a shuttle there, we can actually make it an easier problem. And this is the browser doing uploads in parallel, which is really cool to see. So we support parallel uploads, and some files already made it. If you upload small files to Estuary, you'll actually get put into a staging bucket. And so that has a little bit of a lag, so I didn't want to really show that off. If you look at deals here, the moment you add files to Estuary, we start making deals on your behalf. And so here's some deal history of some previous CIDs that I've made deals for. And you can see the receipts and all the important details. This page does take a while to load. Like we have tested over 3 million files. So it's something that we want to improve the performance on before we hand it off to developers and like make sure that things work before you guys all play with the actual node itself. But you will be able to play with the API without running your own node. And then here are our Filecoin deal parameters. Here's the performance of the Estuary node itself. So total files, total miners, total retrieval failures. So data is really important to us. And so whenever you run one of these Estuary nodes, you can actually see all the performance and details. So maybe you find a way to run an Estuary node better than we figured out, and you can kind of share your notes and we can compare statistics. Here's the Filecoin address that each Estuary node has and the balance of fill that we have on that Filecoin node. And then, that Estuary node, and then we can move things in escrow so they can make deals. And then here are all the storage providers that we work with. And so if you're running your own node, you basically have all of these storage providers that you pick that you want to make deals with. And you can also let my providers know that if something is going wrong, you can suspend them from deals. And the suspension is actually not a bad thing. Like you can actually suspend deals so that they don't hurt the miner if they're not ready to take deals. And so some useful tools there. And so, yeah, I kind of gave that's the first time I've ever done like a video overview of a product, but I'm glad I did it because that actually helps us work around some of the bugs that I might have during a real demo. So Estuary is alpha tech and things do go wrong. So let's go through a code example together where we can play with the code and see what we can do. So I'll come back to my IDE, and I did this earlier. I had this demo running. We'll go to localhost 3005. Close this. Testing 1, 2, 3. We'll test that let's see. Okay, this is letter project. We'll go here. And so unlike the next bucket example I showed earlier, the surface area of this is way smaller. And I think the goal with this example is that I want to show that you don't really need any dependency. So our dependencies here are really small. It's like just 5. We have cores, Next, React, React DOM, and Sass. You could even do without these 2, Sass and cores, and just use Next, React, and React DOM. But I thought people, if they wanted to style their application, they'd want some libraries already there. So let's just test that this still works. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. And for this demo, I have exposed an API key, and it's right here. So I will be using this API key to do stuff. Sweet. And so one thing that's really cool about Estuary is that if you do have an API key, you can take this API key and you can, I'm already logged in, so I'll log out real quick, but you can actually sign in with the API key. So you can get access to your account and data. So if you lose your username and password, make sure you still have this. Cool. And what's really another nice thing about the API key is if you click on Learn More, you'll get to our docs. And some of our documentation will require you to have an API key. And so what I can do is, now that I have an API key here and I'm looking at my docs, and hopefully everyone can see this, I'll just copy and paste this in. And this is an invalid token. Wow. Okay. That is not good. So, well, I know what happened. I logged in and I invalidated my own token. So I'm going to go to API keys. I'm going to revoke all of these later after the talk. So I'm just going to revoke. I don't need any of these. So, well, I'll revoke them later, but not great. So yeah, I'll go here and I'll just use this API key instead. So in the documentation, if I switch to this API key, it will work. And so I have access to my my viewer on the Estuary API account. So here it has an example of what my username. I don't have a Filecoin address linked to my account yet, but I have my deal settings and I have different shuttle endpoints and the one that we are using because there's available space on it. So when you're following this tutorial, you can easily test that your API key works just like I did, and do a authorization test here, and then you can see your account. So we can upload data straight from this tutorial, which is really fun. So right here, I see this replace me with API key. I can paste this right here, and I can go to choose file. And let's just upload this nature 19. What is this? It's a little bunny. And from the docs, we've uploaded a file. So you don't even have to go to the app itself to upload a file to your Estuary account. You can just do it from the docs. And yeah, as simple as that. And then when I go here to list data, I can replace this with, and I can see all the files that I've uploaded, all the CIDs. And so I can just take any of these CIDs here, and I can go to verify. I can click this, and I can see that, yeah, this one's already on Filecoin. It's an older CID, but so from the docs, we can do a lot. But you're probably wondering, okay, well, Jim, that's really cool. I can use the docs and play with all this stuff, but how do I integrate it to my own app? Like, what do I do? And so this code right here, this React component, you can just take the whole thing, and you can go here, and let's just do this because, so we have the code snippet here, and I don't actually have to copy and paste the whole thing here, but what you can do is you can start working backwards. And so I have an upload method and a render method. And so we can just take this this DOM, and just put it here. And even without the method of this dot upload, I'll just change this to upload and state. Okay, and we can actually use do that. And this should just work. So let's go back here. What's going on? I crashed my own server. Let's see. Uploads undefined. Perfect. So cool. So I just copy and pasted from this documentation, this input and this string here. And I did a little upload function to act as a placeholder. And now I can just copy and paste all of this. Add an E here. Replace this API key and switch this to tick. And refresh, no problems. We don't want it to happen unless and a fire alarm just went off outside, I think. Wow. Okay, so sorry about that. Cool. So you have a input field. Yeah, sound of Filecoin deal completion. Okay, so you have this. We went to docs. We got this code example here, and we have this input field. Everything is working as expected. If we go here, thanks, guys. Cool. So we have like an example app, and we've taken this example code and we've copy and pasted it. We've added our API key, and we have this useless kind of. So let's see if it just works. Double checking, we have the API key. We have the upload method. We have the example here. And it won't work because that doesn't exist. So we'll want to pass that in, state, set state. And we'll want to do, let's see, state. Cool, and that should just work. Okay, so I'm gonna upload a file, see what happens. And set state's not defined. Oh. Try again. And okay, this is massively incorrect. Sorry. Persist doesn't exist because we didn't pass the event. I'm just making all the beginner bugs so that when you do it, you'll feel really pro, because you probably won't make, and there we go. So just like that, I know I made it more complicated than it needed to be. I probably should just copy and pasted the whole thing and didn't make any changes. But I wanted to show that if you just kind of copy and paste the code and you're struggling a little bit, you just need to play with it and it will work. And from here, we put a file in Estuary in my own application, an entirely new code base with no npm modules, no install required. And that's a great example of how you can use our docs to kind of play around. And you could have done this all here as well. You could have just like, deleted all this and, did a console log. I don't know what I'm doing. And that wouldn't work because, and you can see there's error reporting as well in the code block. And so, yeah, the goal here is so that you can play with docs, you can have a good time of everything. And so we have a whole bunch of other endpoints that require API keys too. So we have this simple add CID one. So you can just add a CID and not go through the upload process. And so here I am, just, I can take this API key I have here and I can use this and I'll get a bug back and you can make the changes you need to, and modify the root CID. You can get data by CID, which is really cool. So you can see, for any given CID, you can, view the endpoint directly here. And this is the same endpoint that powers this as well. So you can take anything that we've done on the Estuary website, all of the functionality here that you see on the left, and you can just integrate into your own application and just use like a simple scaffold like this and just plug and play. So I think that wraps up the live code example. If there's no questions, sorry about the scramble. There's a lot for me to try to, I was worried I was going to take too long, but it looks like I've finished pretty quickly. And I didn't get into, maybe take some time to get into some of these other methods like get provider stats. So you can see that some of our endpoints are all public. You don't even need an API key to use them. Like you can plug this into your API to your website today if you wanted to make a web page for your miner. So if you just want to make, deploy a simple website for if you are F0135078, you can just make your own profile page for that. You can get a list of all the providers. I know it says miners, but there are providers, and you can kind of get a sense of like for every single one that we work with, you can see which Lotus version they have, and you can make a provider index if you want to. Even the deal logs are all just public API endpoints that you can use. So if you look at pages like this and you're curious, like, gosh, I don't want to be in the Estuary product to look at these logs. Like it'd be really useful if I could show them somewhere else. Totally can. So this API endpoint will expose all the logs here. And you can, so you have a lot of tools at your disposal. So coming back to the keynote, play. Recap, we use textile buckets to get a taste of IPFS. I am so sorry about some of the small issues that we had. I promise you that it is as simple as it looked, or maybe it is as complicated as it looked. Either way, please reach out to me and I'll help you work through it. I have nothing else better to do with my time, so please reach out. And if you're having fun with that, or if you do end up having fun, try out the Near Bridge to get free storage for your applications. It's super cool. And then if you want to store meaningful data for everyone in the world, you can try Estuary Tech, which is our way to make Filecoin deals. And thank you.